So this number line seems confusing because rather than having whole numbers labelled, we've got tenths. So we've got 0.3, 0.4 and 0.5. And to get from one of those tenths to the next one, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lines from 1/10 to the next. So let's see if we can work out which number the arrow's pointing to. Now, because there are 10 lines between each tenth, we need to use the next place value column along. We need to use the hundredths column. So the arrow is pointing to 0.32 because we have 3 tenths, and between tenths we have hundredths, and we're 2 along, so we have 2 in our hundredths column. Now, which number is the arrow pointing to here? We have 0.3, then we have 9 lines, so we have 0.39. And what do we have now? We have 0.42. And now we have 0.48. So remember, because we can divide tenths by 10 to get hundredths, if we have 10 lines from 1/10 to the next, each line stands for 1/100th. Now here we have our tenths labelled, but which number is the arrow pointing to here? Well, it's halfway between 0.1 and 0.2. Now this can get confusing, but remember 0.1 or 1/10 is the same as 10 hundredths, and 0.2 or 2/10 is the same as 20 hundredths. So halfway between will be 15 hundredths, which we write as 0.15. So what do we have here? 0.45. And here 0.65, and here we have 0.95 because 95 hundredths or 9/10 and 5 hundredths is halfway between 9/10 and 1/2. So let's try something more difficult. What number is the arrow pointing to here? Well, it's between 0.1 and 0.2, but it's not exactly halfway between. It's closer to 0.2. So I would estimate that it's at 0.18, perhaps 0.17, maybe 0.19, but definitely more than 0.15. Now, where might the arrow be pointing to here? Well, it's between 0.4 and 0.5, but closer to 0.4. So perhaps it's 0.42. Certainly it's more than 0.4, and we know that it's less than 0.45 because it's not as far as the middle of 0.4 and 0.5. Now what about here? It's close to 0.6, so perhaps 0.58. And here, well, it's close to halfway between 0.9 and 1, but perhaps it's very slightly closer to 1. So I would estimate it's at 0.96. So closer to 1 than 0.9, but only just.